Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast, Life is a Story We Tell Ourselves. If you are a regular listener, you know that the music you're listening to is not part of our regular introduction. That's because today we have with us the band Shades of Grey, based here in Cotacachi, Ecuador, and we are using some of their music on the show. The band was formed by Joel Kaplan, who arranged the music that I wrote, which you usually hear at the introduction to the podcast. I first met Joel while having dinner in a local restaurant here in Cotacachi, while he was playing a set at the bar. At the time, Joel was playing solo, and later he formed Shades of Grey from a group of talented musicians, some of whom have roots in Nashville. So Joel, why don't you introduce the band members and tell us how the group got started?
Yeah, well, I was gigging around town, and there was really nobody to play with at that point in time. And so I started doing a solo act, and then I got an email or a text from Bobby and Becca Vines, who happened to be from Tennessee and Nashville. Said, hey, we're moving there, and can we bring piano and all this sort of stuff? And sometime later, after they had moved, we met. They said we met on the street.
Mm-hmm. When you say moving there, you mean
moving to Cotacachi,
Ecuador. You met on the streets of Cotacachi.
Yeah, met on the street. I don't remember that particular meet, but they have very fine, detailed recollection of me trying to avoid them.
Yes, yes. He was running as hard as he could.
Well, we recognized Joel from his picture on Facebook.
Yeah.
And he said, there's that guy. So.
There's that guy from the internet.
Yeah.
Ooh. So I was gigging around town, and we had opened up a bar with my daughter with the snazzy name The Bar. And I was playing a solo gig, and I look up, and Bobby and Becca had sat down at the table in front of the stage. And we hadn't really had a chance to talk. We just met on the street quickly, as they recall. And I don't remember that. And
We'll check with Palin. She'll remember.
Yeah, that's my granddaughter, who was at the time about 4 years old. Now that she's 12, whether she does remember or not, she doesn't care. So,
and the fourth band member,
is Dan Marceau, and that's we can. We haven't even finished this one.
They're a long story. Yeah.
Dan, it's been about 3 years now, or is it 4 years?
Well, we've been here 5.
Okay.
There's probably 4 in the band.
Okay. Well, I was playing this solo gig, and I got to the chorus of the song I was singing, and I heard harmonies coming from the table in front of me. And from what I could tell, as I always say, they were the right harmonies and on key. And so the next time I came around to the chorus, I got real soft so we could actually sing together. And we got to talking, and there was no option for anybody else to really play. And Bobby's a drummer and a singer. Becca's a singer and plays mandolin and percussion. So, and they came playing from professional bands in Nashville, and I was like, wow, this. Next thing I know, we were in a room at their house playing some music, and then flash forward, we were playing a party in a large building here that I call a very large garbage can. It's just really noisy. And this guy who was just moving to town, and we didn't have a guitar player. We're still debating whether we needed one.
I'll say it right. During a break, they had just taken a break, and I made it a point, because I have heard of the band from prior information before Brenda, my wife, and I came down here, and said one of my goals to come down here was to become a more accomplished guitarist and work on practicing and join a band. Well, so I introduced myself to Joel during one of their breaks, and I said, hey, you guys just finished playing Mustang Sally without a guitar player. And he goes, we don't have a guitar player. I goes, I play guitar, and I'm moving here. He goes, do you have a truck? And I went, no, I don't have a truck right at the moment, but I plan on buying a truck. And he goes, why? He goes, because you're automatically in the band.
Or at least your truck is. We had a bass player for a while, another local expat, Kerry Clagus, and Kerry played some bass. And Kerry had a pickup truck. So when we wanted to play something out of town, Kerry was the guy. So after he left, like, okay, nobody's allowed in the band now unless they have a pickup truck. And then, of course,
I still don't have one.
you still don't have
I
one.
have an SUV,
I'm
though.
still annoyed about that, but that's something that the Vines and I will be talking about at length after this interview. But yeah, anyway, that's kind of how we just kind of fell together. Initially, Bobby, Becca, and I just, we'd had a lot of similar professional background playing for quite a few years. And while our centers of music were a little different, the background as backup singers and playing a lot of music with harmony. And so it was a very good fit, and we just got along extremely well. Which that's gone away, but
So,
no.
what I have to ask you though, when you think of people forming a band, you're thinking about a bunch of kids who have a dream of becoming rock stars and having groupies and making millions of dollars and driving fast cars, and, eating caviar on yachts and whatever. So,
Wow.
I mean, you guys are shades of gray.
And it's Grey, like the British.
Oh my goodness!
We're also
nice.
like the British.
yeah,
Like
we're
nice.
also very retired and have no more dreams left, and just want to play music with people, with like-minded people, and be relaxed. So that's our dream.
We
Really.
had dreams of Social Security.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
So, but why music and why a band? I mean, people that love music sit in the bathtub and, put their earphones in, and other people, listen to YouTube.
Yeah.
So what is it about you all that says, I gotta, play the drums, or I gotta get my guitar and play music? I mean, Dan, you said you came here because you wanted to get better playing the guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Because I very much enjoy playing guitar. I like to entertain. And being able to get up on a stage with this talented group here lets me do that. And they have pushed me to become better, which has been a blessing. Because I've had to learn a variety of styles of music with this band, which I very much enjoy. Yeah, and I'm a show-off.
And you're a show-off. So,
Even though they tell me I don't move much on stage and I just kind of play.
so what guitarist, influenced you? I mean, why were you a little kid and you heard Jimi Hendrix or something?
Yes, he's one of them. Of course, back then was the Beatles that came out, but Clapton is my hero, and Carlos Santana and Stevie Ray Vaughan. Those are guitarists that I work to achieve the skill and the ability to play as good as they are.
That's cool. And Becca, you're a singer.
Yeah, I do sing. Well, and I was thinking as you're talking that for us now in this time in our lives, none of us moved to Ecuador to become musicians. That was not. We've all had long lives. we're of a certain age.
Some longer than others.
Yes, some longer than others. Yes. Joel will always be the youngest one in the band.
Thank you, Joel.
But we also have all played and performed music all our lives, and professionally and otherwise. So for us, and along with having other careers, I don't think any of us were solely musicians professionally for any long period of time. Right? Joel, but that is to say that playing music professionally, when you're trying to make money at it, make a name at it, all of that sort of stuff, has a lot of pressure to it. And having done that already in our lives, music is so part of us that we're never going to stop playing music, even if it's just for ourselves. So being in a band now is like the most relaxing, no pressure kind of thing where we can just enjoy the playing, but also our mix of backgrounds, musical backgrounds, has, like, as Dan was saying, it's pushed all of us. We've all learned to play different styles and sing and do different things. I mean, for us too. Bobby and I have, always pretty much played classic rock, oldies, that kind of stuff, but certainly with country, very ingrained in our backgrounds as well. Joel from Chicago and his love of horn bands and that kind of Chicago blues. Dan over there, what's your name?
Dan.
Yeah. With his background of, guitar based kind of blues and rock stuff. I mean, it's been good for all of us. And in such a relaxed way that there's no pressure and we can really enjoy it. And, that's
Bobby,
how I see that.
Yeah.
Drums. So
Yeah.
percussion. Have you always played the drums?
Yeah, I remember being 7 or 8 years old at a parade in our little town, and a school band was coming down the street, and they were marching to a drum cadence. And when they turned the corner onto Main Street, it got twice as loud, echoing off the buildings there. And I thought, I want to do that. So that's always been it. And then a few years later, the Beatles came out. We're on Ed Sullivan, and so that fit right in. So that's
Bingo!
yeah. I've always had that. That
You're older
in
than
mind.
I thought you were.
Yeah.
Well, so many people were influenced by the Beatles, and I'm probably going to get hate mail for saying this, but when I was growing up, I didn't relate to the Beatles at all. It was like, and I had a girlfriend who, we were girlfriend and boyfriend when the White Album came out, and like, she worshipped this album.
Yeah.
I mean, she slept with it.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. And I like never got it. Now, when I got older, I could appreciate their music a little bit more. And I'm from a musical family.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody except for me, I didn't get the gene, is musical. But so you were so influenced by the Beatles. What was it in their music that I didn't hear?
I think, well, for me, it was just the energy and excitement that was there, and that it was, from what I had known before of popular music, the simplicity of the approach that the Beatles had. 4 guys standing there on stage, playing their own instruments, singing their own songs, and thought that was attractive, and again, the energy was a lot of that. So.
Did it do anything for your spirit or your soul as a teenager?
It's sort of, that's the music that I heard from the time the time the Beatles came out and through high school for me, so around through the 60s. Definitely the music is what guided me in everything. It does get to be a lifestyle for you, whether you're learning your instrument, you're playing your instrument, you're going out and performing and playing different kinds of things. I was in marching band, I was in rock and roll bands, and that. So yeah, that gets to be who you are.
Understand. So Joel, what's your first memory of music? I mean, do you have a singular moment that did it for you?
Actually, I was probably 8 or so. They had an assembly at the grade school I was attending. And they had brought in, I'm from Chicago area, and they had brought in the Chicago Symphony Quartet or Quintet to play for the grade school. And I guess I had an out-of-body experience at that point. I really felt like what they were doing is I was part of that group instead of the group of kids I was sitting with. So if I have any memory of, I was born to play. That was good, bad, or indifferent. Music, and people follow also, even if you're in a bowling league. My dad for years had a passion for bowling. But if you add the concepts of what people say, I remember this moment in time because of music, because of your set. So you add that to the passion of wanting to play, and it identifies you, and then for the next 40 years at your birthday and every holiday, you get musical gifts because, he's a musician.
Yeah,
That's how you are identified. You are a musician.
He's got a closet full of keyboard ties.
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
thing,
so,
just
yeah.
thinking keyboard.
I used to have suspenders and all things. People just, picture paintings, you name it, ashtrays, and I didn't smoke, but yeah, you become a musician, and it's just, well, they say the first thing that you wake up thinking about is what you should be doing, Of course, then it was, bad joke of being a teenager and what do you wake up thinking about?
Right.
So
we won't go there, right?
Bobby told me that one.
So I'm really curious though, and I know this may be a really difficult question, but so we'll start with ladies first, if you don't mind. We'll be old fashioned.
Oh.
So what's your favorite song that you that you go to sleep singing or sing in the shower still, or
there are so many thousands.
I knew you were going to say that, but I'm going to make you pick one.
I don't think that's possible. I don't think I can. But I will tell you this, based on your questions that you had sent to us, you put one that we all kind of laughed at a little bit, but then we all kind of came up with something. But you had asked a question about what song gives you goosebumps, or something,
yes.
Which is a little. And again, there's so many, but I do have one, and this was long after I had started singing professionally and working with bands and stuff. But the first time I heard Etta James singing "At Last," and I think about it now, I'm getting a little. And I know it's a much older song than her version, but that was the first time I'd ever heard it. And I did, absolutely. I reacted very, very emotionally because I felt like it was telling the story of me meeting Bobby. Which is, there's a story behind that, but it affected me so much. And then a little bit later, in the band we were in at the time, I had an opportunity to sing that song. So, that was like a regular thing in our rotation. And every time I would sing the song, I would just close my eyes and, get, I'm kind of over it now, but,
It's been a long time.
Well,
but that's the only song that I had always had just an emotional reaction to, just because of that. That was just kind of
40 years of marriage
sappy
will do
thing.
that to you.
Yeah, 40 years later, I sometimes get a little.
Brings a tear.
I know most of our listeners probably know who Etta James is and has heard of the song "At Last," but give us the first 3 or 4. You don't have to sing it.
Hit it.
You don't have to sing it if you don't want to.
Well, for the younger crowd, Beyonce did remake it a few years ago.
Let me see if I can do it without. At last, my love has come along.
There you go.
That's all. That's all I could do.
And so you were telling the story. That song tells the story of something you yearned for in your life that came true because it says "at last." And at last, now if you're a poet, that has a whole lot of meaning. That's a powerful opening. At last, it has all these connotations to it. So, and that's how powerful music can be. And then my love has come along. Yeah, you don't have to sing anything but those 4 words, and for people to get it and to understand.
And that's a whole session for Dr. Freud.
Yes, yes, we'll have Dr. Freud on one of these days. I'm sure our audience is anxious to hear some of your music, so let's listen to a little clip of the band playing "Sweet Home Chicago."
Back to that same old place, sweet home Chicago. 1 and 1 is 2, 6 and 2 is 8. Come on, baby, don't you leave me laid high to hay. Baby, don't you want to go back to that same old place, sweet home Chicago.
Bobby, now you're next. What song gave you goosebumps, or was one of your favorite song?
It can't be the same one.
You know, can't be the same one. And again, I'm going to take Joel's answer since we talked about this the other day. It was an interesting take on it. I thought when you hear a really good performance of a song, that's when we get goosebumps. And for me, I remember it. We like to go to Broadway shows once in a while, and because I get that goosebumpy feeling there, because the performances are so excellent, and music as well. But whether it's a Broadway show or a drum corps or whatever it is, it's really well done. It takes you to another level, and that gives you that goosebumpy feeling.
But is there a song or something?
He's not going to let you go.
You play the drums,
Yeah,
and
Sing.
and you sing.
Yeah.
But even with the drums, I've listened to drum solos or percussion solos that have given me goosebumps. Can you think back in the day when someone was playing the drums and you just went, "Oh my God"?
Well, yeah, hearing Buddy Rich play and Billy Cobham and just some of the incredible drummers around. But you know, for songs, I'm thinking some of the songs of John Prine, when he does "Angel from Montgomery" or a lot of the songs he does, they really touch your soul and touch you deeply.
Indeed.
So I will say "Angel from Montgomery" as a
Final answer?
final answer. Thank you.
You don't need to phone a friend.
What about you, Dan?
That's a difficult question to
It
answer,
is.
like everyone else is saying. However, and I neglected to mention one of my select guitarists, Jimi Hendrix, who was very influential with Stevie Ray Vaughan and others. But I would have to go to Jimi Hendrix. When I hear Purple Haze, Foxy Lady, anything that's with Jimi Hendrix starts, it's like, yeah, that's the man.
Right.
And he was just an incredible guitar player. He's far ahead of everyone else. I don't think there's ever going to be another.
No, indeed. So what about you, Mr. Kaplan, Joel, the leader of the band?
I'm not going to be able to live that down.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, like a lot of people, I mean, they remember a song because that's when they met their spouse or because they were at a special event and they heard something. I've had a few songs over the years, but probably the one that lingers the longest, I played in a band in the 90s in Chicago that had a New Orleans-based theme. So we were a New Orleans rock and roll band playing in Chicago. And we did bands like the Neville Brothers and Dr. John and Alan Toussaint. And I had never seen the Neville Brothers, and yet for the 5 or 6 years I was in that band, I was playing their music all the time. And a friend of mine, I think he's a friend of my wife's, said, the Neville Brothers are coming, I was living in Las Vegas at the time, coming to Vegas, and I have bought us tickets. Well, our band, when it first started, the first night we played, it didn't go well. And we had such a rapport in rehearsal. We were just shocked that we lost all of our timing. If you've ever seen the movie That Thing You Do, there's a time that a band gets on stage in front of an audience and they just fall apart. Well, that's what we did. We fell apart. And it was like one of the best bands I'd ever been in. The next weekend we played and we decided, okay, we're going to rearrange the set list because maybe that was it. So we started with a Neville Brothers tune called Hey Pocky Way. It starts off with this funky drum rhythm. And the night went so well and had so much karma and charisma that for the next 4 years, we were afraid to start with any other song. So now flash forward 5 or 6 more years, I'm in Las Vegas in this showroom, and the guy introduces the Neville Brothers, from New Orleans, the Neville Brothers, and this groove that we had been playing, which they do a lot. And they started singing the song that we always opened with. Well, that's about as many goosebumps as I think I've ever had in my life. They opened with the song that we opened with for 4 years. So anytime I think about that, I do have one related to my wife if I wanted to.
What about that one you told us about when you were a kid and you kissed that girl and thing, and
I Kissed a Girl. Isn't that a song? That's a little sappy. Although the other one was "Have You Ever Really Loved a Woman" by Bryan Adams.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was a song from the movie Don Juan DeMarco with Johnny Depp and Marlon Brando's last movie performance. It was a very, very fun fable of a story about Don Juan. And the love song in that was "Have You Ever Really Loved a Woman?" And my wife and I were dating 2,000 miles apart. She lived in Las Vegas. I lived in Chicago before I finally moved. And we said, let's have a movie date over the phone. So we picked out, she said, I want you to see this movie. Okay, so we started at the same time, hung up, watched the movie, and called back. And the theme song was "Have You Ever Really Loved a Woman?" And so we decided to get married a year later. I arranged it for an instrumental ensemble, and that's what we walked down the aisle to. So when I hear that song, it has distinct goosebumpery. Is that a conjugation?
Goosebumpage.
Goosebumpage. I like that one.
So we've got a sense of the effect that music has had on all of your lives, but is there a seminal moment or singular moment when a song or music came to your mind sort of out of the blue and you got a sense of wonder or awe that somehow, that song or this music or my experience with music has done something deeply to me?
So it's how it's affecting us. Okay.
How it's affecting. I mean, you play music to affect the audience, and the audience applauds. But I mean,
I would say we play music first for ourselves.
Okay.
I think.
I think if you don't, it's not anywhere near as good.
No.
You can,
yes.
Much like a good comedy team. Martin and Lewis. One of the things that made them what they were is they were one of the first mainstream acts that tried to make each other laugh, and the audience just got to join in on the party. And the bands that I've enjoyed the most, they just enjoy playing together, and it's infectious.
Well, and for us, again, going back to, at this point in our lives, this band, we don't even before pandemic, we didn't perform live more than a few times a year, which we looked forward to, and we worked hard to do well and all of that. But all of that in between time, we've always been playing together and rehearsing together. We call it rehearsing, but really just playing and together and developing sounds and all of that together every week, twice a week, all the time. And a large percentage of that time, we're really just doing it for ourselves until we know we have a gig, and then we take about a certain number of weeks ahead of time to really bang out the set list or whatever. But for me, anyway, that's the beauty of this setting. With this band is now certainly we are doing it for ourselves and our sense of what we can do with that song. Let's take this song and do this with it, and this feels really good, and this guitar and this drum, we're really doing it for ourselves. I think that's and that I think invariably, as you said, comes through when we play live. It's nothing but fun for us. And
well, we became fast friends when we started playing together just because of the commonality of the music. I mean, if I look back on my life and I think of my, the best friends I have still, I've played in a band with all of them.
Yeah.
I don't think I have almost anybody in my life that's very close friends that I did not meet playing in a band with them. That really becomes the center.
Well, that's significant because so many people search for friendship all their lives, and you always see these little, even memes on Facebook, how many friends do you have, or how many friends have you had in your life? And somebody's like, one, none, or something like that. And so, to be bonded, music, bonds people.
And it's not unlike being in the military, where you are going through an enormous amount of experiences, certainly not as harrowing as being military, but playing all these gigs and traveling and all of the unusual circumstances that you deal with as together. you get to know each other better than almost any other circumstance I can think of.
Yeah.
And that's, as Becca said, why we just enjoyed rehearsing. When we first started as the trio, we would rehearse from 2 to 6, and we rehearsed for almost a full 4 hours, just play. And then it started to morph as we became better and better friends. The first hour, we would be sitting around the kitchen table kibitzing for an hour, and then now it's like an hour and sometimes we really want to play, and we're just enjoying each other's company.
But and how many times do we sit around, even now in your beautiful new setting here, where we're recording stuff, and then we all listen back to it, and it was a really good take, and how satisfying that feels individually to us to hear it, to listen to what we've done together, and how it came together, and this worked and that worked, I mean, and that's just really and that's enough for me. I don't need to go out and perform it then. I mean, it's fun too, but
so it seems like you're talking about friendship and now you're getting into the area where you're talking about something about music and the camaraderie giving you a sense of purpose and meaning. So would you interpret that as that music has given you a sense of purpose and meaning in life? I mean, people search and pay gurus, all sorts of money and fly all over the world looking and climbing mountains and all of that sort of thing, looking for spirit, purpose, and meaning. So what would you seem to be saying that you found that to some extent in your music.
Yeah, I think you're looking for your tribe. And, you find those people you can relate to and you do have common experiences with and people you're comfortable, like we've been talking about here, comfortable being around.
But it's like any other part of life. That's not to say that everybody I've ever been in a band with I got along with either by a long shot, but that's what makes it more satisfying when you do. So
well, we do. I'm sorry. And we have fun when we're playing, excuse me, at least on stage. Mm-hmm. And we'll have a couple of jokes between us, and we connect. Mm-hmm. And I'll be looking at Joel or looking at Bobby. Here's the end of the song or something. But when you're playing, and you get in the groove, and you just enjoy playing so much. And then especially with again this talented group, and it's fun. It's just a lot of fun to play.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just personal satisfaction and enjoyment.
Well, plus we're all in our mid-late 60s, and our priorities are enormously different than they were 30 or 40 years ago when we thought music was a career. Now it is, it's senior bowling, and besides, we still have something to say musically, and it's still part, as you say, when you're in the arts in general, it takes another level besides just a passion. The creative process really defines your life. As I said, everybody, Joey's a musician. That's, who you become as society labels. And it's a source of pride until you realize you have no money. And then,
Well, one of the other things is you related some really positive things about meeting someone that you loved, meeting a spouse, joyful occasions, with music. But life is full of a lot of sadness, too. And some of the most popular songs are the saddest bunch of stuff.
Good choice of words.
You've ever, wanted to listen to, but yet, they sell millions of copies. Absolutely. People sit in the audience wiping tears from their eyes, as they're listening to, this, like one of my favorite songs by, there are two of them. One by Gladys Knight, Neither One of Us.
Yes.
How sad could that be? Yeah. Or was it Barry Manilow? I've Never Been So Low on Love. And there are millions of other sad love songs, including a song called Sad Love Song, I believe. Is the title.
I think it's the commonality that you're searching for, and to know that you're not the only person in the world who's been through this. And those songs bring that out, and we can all sit in the audience and shed a tear together.
It's just human experience, and that's what you look for in songs like that, whether they're happy or sad. Like you say, it's relatable. We've been through that, or you know how that feels, and this is a way to express it. Like I can't write those songs, but when I hear a song that tells about some anguish and stuff that I may have been through, I can listen to that and feel it, you know. And
Exactly.
of course, it's
Well, I remember in the 70s, Kansas wrote a song called Dust in the Wind. It was the most successful song they ever had.
Right.
And it was a song about sorrow. You know?
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, but music then brings such joy. So one of the other questions I think I posed to you earlier on or sent you before now had to do with the fact that there are times, and I think I started off with this and we kind of riffed on something else, but there are these moments when you are alone and music, you know, comes to mind and either evokes a particular memory or what's that old adage, music soothes the savage breast.
Yes, yes.
And then a variation of that is that, you know, music can come back and bring you, you know, such solace, or you can remember how music got you through the really tough times. So I guess one of my final questions is, how has music gotten you through life and the tough moments in life? Can you recall maybe an instance when, hey, you know, that song is sustaining me? Yeah.
I can relate to that, and I've shared this with the band. The first year that my wife and I moved here, I came from a 40-plus year fast career in automotive. And the very first year that I was here, I had to slow down because I came here not to retire, but to reinvent my life. And I was having difficulty, and I was finding, my wife had told me that you're getting short and rather curt with her, and I had gotten that from some friends of mine that I was
Get a
here.
hobby. Get a hobby.
And I realized that I was kind of crashing and burning, you know, depressed. And she quickly reminded me that one of your goals to be here was to play guitar and be in a band. And I said, you're absolutely right. And it kind of just gave me a pickup to focus on my music and took my head out of my derriere. And it helped me along to say, okay, I've got to focus. I can do this. And I'm glad where I am today.
Did a song ever come to your mind during that period that said, hey,
He's determined to
hey,
Circling back.
a song.
You can ask everyone here in this room, when we rehearse, Dan's always over here in between songs, just
We call him Noodle.
noodling
that's
around on the guitar. It was it's just at that moment. Joel may say something like Inagata Davida.
All I have to do is give him any reference to anything,
Any
and
song
he's off playing some song that relates to it.
It just happens.
Lots of Santana, lots of Carlos
Lots of
Santana
Carlos
in
Santana.
between. Yeah.
So I just enjoy playing. It's just a blessing. It's been a
Yeah,
blessing.
I can tell from the smile on your face. I wish we had video. Maybe I'll start doing some
He's got
video
really expensive
podcasts.
teeth,
Yeah.
too.
Maybe if you do a videographer, it's,
And I just got my
Maybe I
haircut.
can find a
Yes.
videographer that can
I just got my
help
haircut
me
for
here.
this, you know.
Right. But one of the
Hey.
reasons I was circling back to that question and asking that question is because I had I don't know what kind of experience it was. You could call it a religious experience, but I had a very, difficult and stressful career, and I was driving home one evening. I grew up in the church. Lots of music, of course, lots of choir music, all kinds of music. And I don't know where this came from. It was just out of the blue. This because up to that point, I was just very oppressed, depressed. Because of the vicissitudes of life and what I was going through in my job and feeling alone because I had to make very tough decisions that everybody hated. And then suddenly, going down the hill to my home, a song comes to mind from my days, in church. And my spirit was totally lifted, by this song and the memory of this music. And I was never the same again. I wasn't depressed anymore. I felt this sense of transition in remembering this music. and the songs that were sung. And so when people listen to you, I don't think you know, maybe you do know, the effect sometimes that you might, be having on a lone person sitting in the corner, of the bar, listening to your music, and then they go away with that in their mind, and it still has a lasting impact on their lives.
I would say we do know that because that's why we play those songs for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Those songs, and the people here that we play for are people our same age, maybe similar backgrounds, but we pick the songs that have those meanings for us, that when we play them make us feel better about life or remember situations, whatever. And so we kind of know that those other people out there who are just like us, they're going to respond to it as well. So in a sense we do. And we do that, we pick the songs that have that meaning for us, I would say. Or that people request, because it has that meaning for
true,
them.
yeah.
So...
Well, and being, as the term comes up for many musicians, weekend warriors. We haven't played professionally in quite a few years, and so you play parties and weddings and things on the weekends. That's the nickname given to you as a weekend warrior. I had dinner with a couple of friends last week, and they're very big music lovers, especially him, and he's seen us a lot. And because we're not recording artists, at this stage of our lives, and we don't have any, we've played with a lot of interesting places and with a lot of interesting people, but we are not, golden oldie rockers. We don't have things that were on the radio. I sometimes forget that even still we're playing other people's music, that the band as it is can have an impact, especially in our small town here. There's not a lot of music going on that they grew up with, that was being, actual musicians from their era playing the music they grew up with. So they actually transfer a lot of the sentiment that they have for the original artist to us when we play. And sometimes we don't realize it. Wow, you guys are great. We're okay. We have fun. We enjoy we play some songs pretty well, some songs not so great. But we, he really made me remember that, actually we do have something to offer the local area, not just for ourselves. So, it does make an impact, even though it's not our music, on the local crowd.
Absolutely. So what's next for Shades of Grey? Where are you guys going from here? The pandemic is waning. Let's just say waning. I think that's the right word. We hope. And so where do you guys go from here?
We are looking forward to playing for a live audience again, with people dancing, having a good time.
But I think it'll be a little while before everybody's comfortable with that.
Yeah, because we usually put 150 people in a room, and that's probably still a ways off. Yeah. In the meantime, we rehearse, and we dabble with doing some recording, and just having fun. It was almost a year before we could actually get together in the same room. Mm-hmm. So for us at this point, it's just a joy for us to show up twice a week and actually be able in the same room and not have to worry about social distancing and just enjoy playing again.
Well, it's a joy for me too. All of my podcasts have been done remotely, from people all around the world, and that's a benefit. It's a plus and a minus, but then it's a real joy being able to be in the room with all of you. And I wish our listeners could see being in the studio, this music studio, with the drums and the keyboard and all of the equipment and the microphones. It evokes, such a great feeling as well. So I'm looking forward to you getting back out there as well. But you're not planning any YouTube videos or TikTok, huh?
No.
Just for a reason that didn't seem to work for us. We were kind of doing it for ourselves, and we haven't shared too much with the outside world unless we're doing a local gig. So it just, I don't know, it just didn't seem to fit what we were doing. Maybe at one point we will.
Understand.
No, we're too picky to put anything out there.
We never like anything we record. So.
Well, look, it's been a pleasure talking to all of you today, and we're going to end with some of your music so our listeners can hear exactly what Shades of Grey is putting out there and understand what a great group you are. But I want to thank all of you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Don,
Thanks,
for
Don.
coming. This is fun.
Yes.
It's been great.
And thank all of you for listening.
Yes.
And now, before we say goodbye, let's listen to a little more of Shades of Grey. Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of Life is a Story We Tell Ourselves. I hope you enjoyed listening to the podcast and that you will subscribe to the podcast at lifeisastorypodcast.com. Please join us on our next podcast when we will talk about the efforts of one golfer who plans to play 50 golf courses in 50 days to raise money for charities that develop potable water systems. Stay safe, share happiness, and remember, never stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existing.